And we're starting it up again, baby. That's right. The Geek Beach is back on its first Wednesday. This seems like the ideal time to do this show. I don't know why I'm not doing it Wednesdays, but maybe I'll start doing it Wednesdays now. We'll see. New comic book day. Miss Marvel just ended, so it'd be the perfect time to talk about it. But no, folks, no. We are not talking Miss Marvel today. I just did my review. If anybody is interested in checking it out, go check it out after the live stream or check it out before. It's up to you. Live your life, do what you want. Finale of Miss Marvel just came out. It's pretty good. But today, we're here to talk about Thor Love and Thunder. There's a reason I have been I don't want to say absent-minded. I just haven't really talked about Thor Love and Thunder on my channel. It's because I was doing this live stream and I was like, okay, let's save all of the thoughts of Thor Love and Thunder for this big video, and I never have to talk about it again because I'm not. After this video, I will never in my life, well, not in my life, I will never really go into a deep dive on Love and Thunder again unless we do another Thor trilogy video and I talk about 4, 5, and 6 Thor movies on Galactic Tales. But even then, that's never going to happen because why would they make another one of these? So yeah, Thor Love and Thunder. Big movie, $300 million worldwide already. And it is arguably, I could argue this, we don't have to get into like the big details yet about it, but I could argue this about Thor Love and Thunder. It is one of the most simplistically boring movies I've seen this year. It is also one of the least offensive movies I've seen this year where it doesn't take any chances or try to do anything creative. It is also one of the hardest films to talk about, in my opinion. And the thing with that, and it's something I try to make very apparent when dealing with this topic and broaching this subject in different ways, is that it is hard to talk about comedy films, especially when it's just like a serious joking film and everybody's got their own topic. Everyone just wants to say something. It is hard to talk about a comedy. How do you do it? Like, do you just like talk about the joke? Do you talk about like the delivery of the joke? It's a hard subject to broach, and I just like, this is a comedy movie more than anything, and I don't really know if I know what to say about a comedy. It's fun, it's creative, but how do you like broach doing a discussion on a comedy? I don't want to break down the jokes for you. That's boring. That's simplistic. I guess what I'm trying to say is when it comes to talking about Thor Love and Thunder, this is the least interesting film I've ever had to talk about because it's literally nothing. This film serves no real purpose. It feels, and I hate to say this about a $250 million budget film. It feels like a bunch of dudes just playing with their kids, and that's fine. I don't give a shit if you want to bring your kids on set. But something becomes very egregious is when like your children are presented in like the main fold of the story. When your kids are present throughout the story, then it suddenly be like, hey, it's just about hanging out with your kids now, as opposed to making a real film. And fine, I really don't care. Like this film, it doesn't do anything. It exists for no purpose. It really has nothing special to go for it. And it's just another cog in the machine that is the MCU. So when it comes to my initial thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder, because I could ramble about it all day long, my initial thoughts are this: it's so basic, how do you broach the subject? It's so simplistic in its ideas that it's not interesting, and I don't enjoy it. I really did not like this film. I went into this theater, and I just remember being like, okay, I know the ride I'm in for. The divisive nature of this thing made me go, yeah, this is going to be something I'm going to question more than other people would. And I did. I walked out of this with very few expectations and very few hopes met. So, at the end of the day, I think Thor Love and Thunder is not a good film, but I can't just end it on there. This is, I would argue, the biggest film of the year. And what I mean by the biggest film, maybe not the most like bombastic, but Thor Love and Thunder is probably the most expensive film that will be coming out this year. Don't ask me why it's the most expensive, because looking at this film, you clearly don't know where the budget went. But some reports are coming in that Thor Love and Thunder was probably over $200 million in terms of the budget, which is insane to me. And if this is going to be the biggest film of the year, look, it could be Black Adam. I don't know the budget of Black Adam. It could be Wakanda Forever, but I feel like that's going to be more scaled down in comparison of the budget. I don't feel like, well, I shouldn't say maybe Wakanda Forever is going to be expensive, but this is the character. You know, that one doesn't have Chadwick in it anymore. This is the character people have the most connection to. So yes, Thor Love and Thunder is the biggest film of the year. And this is what we get. it's just so simple and dull and just bankruptly. It's just like there's no creativity to it. It's just bankrupt in its creativity. And I cannot believe this is the fourth Thor movie, because it's the worst one. And it's just insane to me that it exists that way. So let's get into it a little bit more. Let's just talk about the character that is Thor Odinson in this universe. We are coming off of Endgame, where he learned a valuable lesson, a very valuable lesson, in humility and self-sacrifice and overcoming your depression and finding out what it is you're meant to be. I was never a big fan of Endgame, and I think Thor's journey in that turned into one I didn't like. It's that thing again, I don't understand how we got to this point in the universe where he becomes the butt of the joke. You know, like, why is it every time Thor is on screen, every time Thor is doing something, he's the butt end of the joke? I don't get that. It seems like a weird choice, and maybe it's just because Chris Hemsworth doesn't want to commit to being the serious actor, because I think he can. But I dare you to go find a movie he starred in where he's playing like a genuinely serious guy. Not some, like, it's not Spiderhead where it's like a big intense action thing and he's like the man behind the scenes. But I implore you to find a Chris Hemsworth performance post Thor the Dark World where he is seriously serious. Because I don't think there is one. I think he said, I make more money being the silly goofball, being the surfer bro who can't take himself seriously. I'll be the butt end of the joke for everything. And that's kind of fine. Even in Ragnarok, when I don't particularly love what that movie did to the character, I understood it because Thor does learn a lesson kind of about leadership in a sense, and how he has to like step up to the role that he was destined to have and learn what his place is in Asgard. So I'm fine with that. And again, Endgame, there's a story there for him. There's a story for him in Endgame. The thing with Love and Thunder is that it becomes such a joke of a character that it no longer holds any nuance or interest to anybody watching. The character is just a douchebag in every single scene. He is making the wrong choices. He is saying the wrong things. This guy has canonically been around for thousands of years. Well, I don't know about thousands. Over 1,000 years. And he is just treating the world like it's his plaything. It's literally like reversing back what he's learned in these past films into this really dull performance. And that's the thing about this too, is like Chris Hemsworth, say what you will about the guy, he phoned it in. He didn't have to try for this one. He can show up, say a quippy line, look stoic and sexy for people who are interested in that, and then get the paycheck, you know, play with his daughter on set for a bit. And the fact that this is your biggest film of the freaking year and you're just giving it nothing, that says a lot about where you are in these movies. And you hear those reports where like the teaser said Thor will return. He didn't know and Taika didn't know. They're like, oh, are we? That should say something about the state of this universe, where it's like, we desperately need you because we don't have many more of the originals back. Like, what else? Ruffalo can't sell a movie, sadly. Jeremy Renner did a terrible show, so you're all we got. And you need us and we need you, because nobody is watching a Chris Hemsworth movie when it's not associated with the MCU. Nobody saw that Ghostbusters movie. Nobody saw that Men in Black movie. He's trying to do those other, franchises, but nobody cares because he's just built himself to be this character in this movie, and nobody wants to see that character in Men in Black. Nobody wants to see Men in Black in general, but nobody wants to see that character in Men in Black. They can tolerate it here as Thor, but it's really just a nothing character. Here's the thing I think so important to say about this character in this movie. Thor in Love and Thunder, not only is he the dumbest character, the most annoying character, you can't how do you get the Guardians of the Galaxy to hate you? Like, that is saying something about the state of Thor. And that whole bit with the Guardians, yes, it is forced. Yes, it's just a generic cameo for no reason. But that sequence, when those characters show up and they're just looking at Thor and they're like, yeah, we're just going to get on our ship and leave you. That should say something that your main character isn't working when the larger universe you put him in doesn't want to have him around. If you are just making this character so annoying where your colorful, bright, campy characters are saying, we gotta leave this guy, that should be an inherent problem right there, where you're like, oh, is it a funny joke? Sure. But it should just be like, Thor is actually kind of a dipshit now, isn't he? We really butchered what this character was gonna be, made him into nothing. That is a shame. That is a shame. So yes, the movie opens up. Thor's on a journey. He doesn't know what he wants to be now because he could be anything. Guess what he becomes in the end? Nothing. Literally nothing. He becomes a dad, which I guess, again, I guess this is something we're supposed to see Thor was wanting to feel through ever. Oh, I guess, yeah, Extraction. Yeah, that's true. Extraction, I'd put it up there, Cameron. Like, yeah, I forgot about Extraction because I know he did, like, Spiderhead, which was really boring. And then he produced that one for his wife, which was just like, I have clout. Let me get my wife to be my level of success now. But I guess, yeah. Extraction was really good. I can't believe I forgot about that. And they got the sequel coming out. So I'll give you Extraction. I will give you Extraction. But aside from that, not much. Not much. And I think that movie only works because he's committing to it. And that's like a weird one for him to commit to, where it's like a serious action thing. But again, it is what it is. It says Thor's on this journey. He apparently, throughout the previous MCU films, he was contemplating having a kid with Jane Foster, and that would be nice to have seen before, because I feel like if the movie never does a good job of explaining why Jane and Thor are supposed to be this important connection. Like, it always just feels like they're telling us these two loved each other hard when we saw two movies where there really wasn't anything. Black Cat, okay, you're proving me wrong here, dude. Okay, I don't watch a lot of Chris Hemsworth stuff, apparently. You can see why. No, it's fine. Yeah, I guess Black Cat was after Dark World, or I think it was around the same time. It might have been the same year, actually. But nobody remembers Black Cat. Nobody's talking about Black Cat anymore. Whatever. But Thor. Look at him go. He loved Jane. Their power was so strong, and they broke apart because they were both afraid of talking to each other. And again, I understand how it's an easy way to break them up so they could get back together, because were they ever really apart, they just learned to talk to each other. So they get back together essentially because they have one conversation where they tell each other they love each other. It's so forced and weird, and I don't think it works. It's such a lame idea to present, but it is what it is. Thor wanted a kid. The end of the movie, he gets a kid. There's his arc. And guess what? It's Chris Hemsworth's real daughter who played Gore's daughter. So if you just want to know the level of commitment he's putting into this franchise, he's literally saying, we can get my kid in here and I'll do more of it. I'll enjoy myself if I get to work with my daughter. Cool. Your son was like the young Thor running at the beginning of the film. Good for you. Taika's kids, Christian's kids, and Natalie's kids are also the Asgardian kids in this. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having your kids come in to work with you. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I'm just going to say that is really annoying sometimes. And Taika made jokes about the free labor. Yeah, that's probably why you did it. It's also why you gave yourself a producing credit, a directing credit, a writing credit, and an acting credit, Taika. We know the tropes you're playing with now. So thank you, Taika, for doing all that stuff. I don't want to shit on Taika too much. Actually, let's shit on Taika a little bit right now. I have him later on my notes, but I'm just kind of in like a pissy mood of Taika right now. And this is just, it's kind of personal. It's just kind of, I'm just kind of annoyed with him right now. He has been doing some great stuff. He's produced shows like What We Do in the Shadows and Reservation Dogs and Our Flag Means Death. And these are really cool shows. They're very strong. They have great stories. They are focusing on different types of leads and characters. It's just really cool to see that, But then he just comes to these movies and he talks about doing a Star Wars. He talks about working with Marvel still. And you're just seeing this guy. He just sounds like a completely different person where he's just goofing off and doing nothing. And maybe it's that thing in him where he's like, if I play the big role here and make their big stupid movie over here, I can do whatever I want. You know? AOG, we're talking about Taika being a bullshitter right now. And yes, Crash or Rush, I should say, and Cash. I don't know what Cash is. I don't know which one that is, but Rush is really good. I forget that Chris Hemsworth had a career before the MCU. I am sorry. Rush is a really good movie, though. It's weird to think that him and Daniel Brühl both became who they are after that film. It's really cool. I'm shitting on Taika Waititi, though. Because Taika Waititi, he's producing great television, comes to these movies, makes terrible jokes about having the kids in so they don't have to pay the kids, makes terrible jokes about just shitting on the CG and VFX team for working on these things. Like, that doesn't look real. We know Taika. It's a big rock guy. Nothing about that looks real, dude. Why do you have to, like, discredit the hardworking people on this? And then the jokes were Tessa, and, like, there's that video, I think it was, I don't remember, it might have been Variety or QC or something, and they put out, like, that, they're looking at the footage, and they're just, like, going through it, and Tessa's like, I remember in this scene, I did, like, this weird head nod, and Taika's like, oh, I didn't see that, and it comes across as like he didn't watch the movie that was being edited, but it also comes across like, hey, that's a silly mistake I made because I don't give a shit about this. I can put in my time, get my 3 freaking paychecks for this film, for producing, for acting, directing, and writing. I'll put in all the time, and we can screw off, and I can go make Our Flags Means Death and actually care about something I'm working on. That's what it feels like. And, you know, it's a short movie. It's all about the jokes. And the thing with Taika, and I like him. I like Taika. I really respect the guy. I think he has been hardworking for the past decade, pumping out great stuff. He really has. His independent works are fantastic. There's no film, and no film will ever come close to what Jojo Rabbit did in terms of quality of success. I respect Taika so much, but it feels like this was where he said, oh, fuck it. I'll phone it in. I'll just let it go. I'll just do it. We need a joke for this scene. I can write a joke here. We don't really have a plot. Yeah, that's fine. Here's a joke. We don't need it. And that's what this movie feels like. It's just Taika letting himself have fun but not give a shit. And that kind of sucks because this is the 4th Thor movie. It's his 2nd Marvel movie. This should be like your big thing. Like, I have an unlimited budget. Let me go crazy. Instead, we're going to use the simplest designs, the simplest ideas, and have nothing special happen. And I cannot believe this is the Taika we're getting because we have seen the brilliant man and filmmaker work on other stuff before, and he's produced some amazing content. He's done some amazing stuff. I am just so disappointed in what he did here. And the other thing with that too, you really inserted Korg into so many scenes. I think solely because you wanted to prove something. You're like, how far can I run this joke into the ground? You did, dude. I genuinely thought Korg was going to die in that scene, and I'm like, good. We don't need to see Korg anymore. You played the joke out enough. We can stop. We can let it go. Can we just not talk about it, please? But Taika, you're going to do Star Wars next. My one thought for you with Star Wars is this. Please don't make it your brand of humor. I'm fine with a Marvel movie having jokes. That's what they are now. That's how you appeal to the masses. But there's never like a distinctly comedy feel of Star Wars. It's never that feel. I think if you played more into the tropes you did for something like Hunt for the Wilder People and Jojo Rabbit and those really intense themes of these children learning these big experiences, you can do something special. But please don't make a Star Wars movie that looks like this, because it would just be terrible and annoying. And every comment you've made about this movie you've worked on post its release has been arrogant and annoying and comes across as very dickish. And the thing is, I wanted to talk about this. I kind of talked about it in the Big Geek Wave video I did this week. I really wanted to talk about this because there is some claims going around the internet on Reddit forums and just blowing up all over online about these VFX artists that have worked with Marvel on the various properties in Phase 4, saying these deadlines are impossible. We are overworked, overstressed, and we can't keep up with the schedule we are given. It is making people frustrated and angry and depressed. And you just get this sense like, Marvel's not paying them good. And I'm not going to say anything negative about the people working on it. I'm just going to be like, it shows in the quality of stuff we're getting for Phase 4. And I have nothing but respect for those working in the VFX industry on these projects that are being overworked just so I can sit here and tell you their work looks bad. That sucks. That shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't have to come here and tell you, like, the hundreds of people that worked behind the scenes on this did a bad job, all because the director has been making stupid claims online, like, oh, this looks bad. Like, you shouldn't be saying that. I can say that because I'm reviewing and critiquing the film. You made the thing, Taika. Don't make a silly joke about the countless hours these people have put into it. I shouldn't be the one to tell you that. You should just instinctively know. Don't shit on your own movie for the joke. Why are you doing that? So to anybody working in the VFX industry who is just frustrated with Marvel, I support any decision you make, but I'll tell you right now, if you say I cannot work for this company, Marvel Studios is overworking us and underpaying us, don't do it. If you have the ability to find other work with what you're doing, do it. I think just seeing these claims and people going against Marvel now and these people being out like, I couldn't keep up with the WandaVision schedule. It broke me. Don't force yourself to do it. No job, even if it is Marvel, is worth like breaking your mind and your body. No job is worth it. If you can do that job somewhere else, do it. And you hear those claims, right? You hear those claims. And then you see these reports coming out from some people talking that Zack Snyder was in the studio with the VFX artists and just watching the beautiful work they did and just complimenting it and saying how you could do things differently, but also respecting the art that's being put into it. And it's just that thing where it's like, you just really see how Taika is so arrogant in that portrayal where he's like, I know people did hard work here. Screw it. It doesn't look good. But you hear Zack Snyder comes in and he's like, wow, this is really cool. I think this scene would look cool like this. Can we try it that way? And there's that respect to it. My goodness. I cannot believe it's Taika Waititi who is just making all of this apparent, where these Marvel guys, not all of them, I'm sure James Gunn is closer to Snyder in this aspect, but just some of those guys are just so like, bloop, 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 we don't care. Oh, it's so frustrating. And why does it have to be Taika? And look, I'm not going to harp on Taika all day. I could harp on him all day, though. I'm just going to say this again. I think the parts of What We Do in the Shadows, Reservation Dogs, and Our Flag Means Death that work are not intrinsically connected to what he's doing. There are parts of it that I think are solely him that make those work, but they have grown past him at times. Our Flag Means Death is a little bit different because he's a key character in that, but I think Rhys Darby has given the better performance, if that makes sense. So Taika, what are you doing, man? Quit being a dick. Just accept that maybe you didn't like the way the movie was made. Move on. Don't make silly comments to people. Don't say dumb stuff. Let's just get past it, dude, okay? We both know you got a lot of money coming in now, and I think you're dating Rita Ora, but I can't confirm that. Dude, just chill for a minute, okay? Obviously, you're overworked, and it's starting to show, okay? Just take it easy. Let's talk about Natalie Portman for a minute. She's finally returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since The Dark World was the last one she was in, which was 2013, which is 8 years ago. This is the big introduction to Jane again. She's coming back. What do? Well, they spend the first half of the movie not saying the word cancer. And honestly, the first time I saw this film, I was like, oh, they're not going to say cancer. I really thought they were not going to say the word cancer. But then they said it, and I'm like, oh, you did it. You actually had the balls to do it. Good for you. Because I was like, Disney is clearly those type of people that just be like, you get it. You just say stage 4. She's in chemo. We don't have to say cancer because that would make people uncomfortable. Disney, you had the balls to say it. That's pretty cool. How was her performance? Yeah, it was fine. I didn't hate it. She did what she had to do. She made some really dumb, cringy jokes at times, but I think that was just her playing off of Chris Hemsworth, where it's like they clearly don't have chemistry, so when they're trying to force the jokes, she's like, eat the hammer. It's annoying and cringy. She had better chemistry with Tessa Thompson. Well, everyone does, just because she's an incredibly interesting lady and seems to be able to talk to anybody. But just, this is her return. This is the movie she gets. She has cancer. She comes to New Asgard. The hammer finds her. We don't have to over-explain it. You get it. You understand. We can move on. None of it matters. So let's get on with the story. Continue on there. And eventually she dies. And I'm like, okay, that's a choice. And I guess that's better than stringing along a cancer story for like 4 or 2 movies or whatever, because that'd be so frustrating. But here's the thing, this is like a nitpicky thing, and I don't really like to nitpick, because come on, I'm a writer. Writing is hard. Coming up with individual story beats to make something make sense, especially in an extended universe, is really hard. I'm not going to nitpick anything. But if the idea is she got Mjolnir because Thor said to Mjolnir, you have to keep her safe, right? If that's what we're saying, and it finds her, and when she uses Mjolnir, it drains her power and makes her weaker, that's going against what Thor said. So if it actually was trying to keep her safe, it wouldn't drain her power. So why is that happening? Is kind of where I'm at with that. And I think that's like that's weird, right? Like, is that a weird thing to criticize, where I'm like, if it was really keeping her safe, why would it be draining her power, eventually leading to her death where she is weaker and can no longer sustain that? It's very weird. Another thing I find weird, we see at the beginning when Thor goes to find Sith, and she's like, leave me here to die so I can be in Valhalla. And he's like, well, you have to die in battle to do that. And then at the end of the movie, Jane doesn't die in battle, right? She dies in his arms. She's not killed by gore in the heat of the moment. They have a moment to like relax and just like have their goodbye be said. And you're like, okay. So would Sith have gone to Valhalla if she was in the same place as Jane? Or if Jane was where Sith was, would Jane have gone to Valhalla? If you switch those roles, is it just that Sith can't go to Valhalla? I don't know. That stuff just, it's so lazy, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, instead of actually showing you something happening, we're just going to explain it. It's one of those movies. There's a million of these movies where it's just exposition machines. Come on, guys. It's the 4th Thor movie. Put some effort into it. Don't explain stuff like this. And don't give us the shittiest post-credit scene ever, where it's like, the cancer actually didn't matter because she's still in Valhalla. She still won in the end. And this is just kind of a thing I'm starting to notice with the MCU. Introducing all these different like astral planes and different lives and these goddess, like these different realities for heavens and hells and shit. It's like, none of it really matters then, does it? You know, it's like, if we die here, we could go to Valhalla. We know the Egyptian ones have the Field of Reeves. We know there's the one for the Wakandans. There's clearly a hell because we're going to do Mephisto and Ghost Rider at some point, which means there would be an actual heaven, which leads me to believe, what are the stakes? If we see a character in the afterlife, that means to me, death doesn't matter anymore. But if we never saw Jane again, if they never did that stupid post-credit scene, there'd be actual weight to it. And I guess that's better than her dying of the cancer. But she does die of the cancer, right? But she turns to glowing stuff like a god would. So it's all a bunch of just whatever. I hate talking about this movie. It's really upsetting. Let us talk about Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher. Who had Christian Bale plays a villain in a Marvel movie on their bingo card? I never did. Why in the ever-loving hell would Christian Bale scoop to this level? It's because of his kids. And guess what? His kids are in the movie. Do you get it? You get it now? Do you get why this is happening? You tell me Natalie Portman's kids didn't want her to come back to this thing? Oh my goodness. It's crazy. But Gore the God Butcher, probably, I would say, one of the greatest conceptualized villains in comic books from the past 20 years. There are very few that have that kind of staying power, just being in kind of like one story arc. Gore the God Butcher is such a cool concept for Thor. This guy loses his family. He prays for his gods to do something. They do nothing. And he's like, oh shit, gods are shit. I'm going to go kill gods. Gets a cool sword. Actually has motivation to kill the gods. Unlike this Gore, who prays to the one god, the sword magically comes into his hand and it persuades him to kill the god. That is one of my biggest problems with the Gore character in this movie, is that he doesn't do the inciting incident himself. The sword persuades him to do it. Give us a yes, and he goes like, "You're no god of mine, I denounce you." And it's like, that's nothing. That's nothing. That means nothing to any of these characters. You have to actually show him angry and revolted. And again, every other time he appears in the story, it's just this guy who's like saying what he's going to do. It's like, I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to scare these kids for some reason. It's such a weird way to have done Gore, you know? He's called the God Butcher. We see him kill one god at the beginning, and then we see a freaking newsreel on the Guardian's Hollow, whatever. It's like, this god's dead, this one's dead. They're crying for help, but nobody's working. And this is the other problem with the movie, and this is the Eric Killmonger thing all over again. The movie's trying to present to you that Gore is the bad guy because he's covered in black shadows and is played by American Psycho. That's why he's the bad guy. In actuality, kind of like Killmonger, he's right. The movie does nothing to tell you he's wrong. Every single god we meet in this movie is a big prick, is a loser, is a nerd, or just the worst people you've ever met. They all deserve to die. So saying that Gore is wrong, that's what's wrong. Because Gore's right. These people suck. We should kill them. And you don't see him kill any of them. You don't see him kill any of them. You just see the page from Asad Ribic's art that shows Falagar, the dead god, and we don't actually see that god die. We don't see the fight that it has with Sif and Gore, and it's like, what is the point of this? Is he supposed to be so imposing that seeing the fight would just undercut everything he's doing? Maybe, but it doesn't. You're just looking at this dude just like scare kids in some weird Uncle Fester makeup. I seriously cannot believe Christian Bale was okay with this. And then you hear reports from Christian Bale saying they cut out so many of his scenes that actually give that character motivation. And if I was him, I'd be so pissed because you probably didn't want to do this. You're doing this for your kids and the paycheck. And now you're just stuck in this weird universe with a nameless character showing you the power of Marvel. And isn't that something? Isn't Marvel just the most powerful thing in the world? Look at recent reports from Marvel. They're saying Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be the villain in Armor Wars. That is the level of power they have. Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to do the TV show for the sidekick of Iron Man in a story based on an Iron Man comic. Like, what? And then they just got Christian Bale to do this? It's like, wow, they got their grips on something over in Hollywood right now. It's insane. It's insane because this performance, it sucked. It was boring. It was simplistic. He really wanted to commit to certain stuff. Like the scene where he's trying to scare the kids with like the snake and rips the snake's head off. That's cool. Then it's just a bunch of other bullshit that does nothing. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe Christian Bale was wasted like that. How do you take one of the most talented character actors of our time and make him into one of the most boring, stale characters in any Thor movie? That is Malekith level bad. And that's just the worst thing ever. It is so frustrating. Like this film does nothing right, honestly. It makes so many just weird, uninteresting choices. And that sucks. That sucks, man. I'm so sick of it. And this other thing, too, I kind of want to talk about is the Tessa Thompson stuff. Like, I don't know. I love her. I think she's the sweetheart. She's the only person outside, like, off screen. I think she'd be the one I'd want to hang out with the most, if that makes sense. I don't really want to hang out with Hemsworth. That seems like a lot of pressure. I think I'd want to punch Taika in the face after a hot 8 hours. So, not Portland, I guess, would be fun. And I feel like I'd make Christian Bale more mad than he'd make me. But Tessa Thompson, I feel like you just sit down, have a coffee, have some iced teas, just relax and enjoy each other's company. Why was she in this? I get Taika because he's the writer, director, and producer. He can shove himself into whatever scene he wants. But what purpose did she serve other than she was a character that existed before? There was no real story for her. She didn't really learn any lessons or do anything fun. It has one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which just goes to... I talked about this when I did my Geek Wave video. I'm just going to talk about it again. You can literally see the scene in this movie that you could edit out for foreign markets who aren't too happy with, homosexual characters. Because there's one scene in this movie, well, I guess kind of two if you talk about it, where Valkyrie admits she had a girlfriend and the girlfriend's dead, and Korg admits he has two dads. But I'm pretty sure in Ragnarok, Korg said he had a mom who had a boyfriend. But whatever, the Cronins obviously don't have gender. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest. It's one scene in the movie, in the midst of the big emotional thing where we finally say the word cancer, where, Tessa's like, I had a girlfriend, she died. Korg had two daddies, they held hands over lava. You could cut that out, send it over to China or wherever you want. Here's what I want to say about that. Here's all I want to say about that. You look at Lightyear 2, one scene where people are kissing. Okay? No, that's it. That's all. That's Disney. But you look at the competition. Okay? Doom Patrol has one of its characters openly gay, dealing with his homosexuality from the beginning episode and how he feels about it in a world that he doesn't think is going to accept him. The Harley Quinn cartoon literally is creating a season based on the sexual exploits of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Peacemaker literally said Peacemaker's bisexual. They are actively putting those representations in. It's not even like they're taking a risk to do it. They are just doing it. So the fact that we're teasing that, Valkyrie's going to find her queen and she doesn't do anything. Great. That's really fun. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in this movie, man. It was so stupid. Like, there's so many different plots that you could play with in here. The fact that, like, what if we put the Gore plot, the Jane plot, the Gods plot all in the same movie? I get it, because that's what Marvel movies are now. They have to be the events because we do the smaller shit on television. But you're just overworking everybody so much to the point where it becomes stupid and it doesn't do anything. And as I'm just saying, like, come on, if you're going to say she's gonna, you call her King Valkyrie, and that's nothing. That's just a title. Thor's just a title. It doesn't matter. If you're gonna call her King Valkyrie, tease in the marketing, she's gonna find her queen. Show it. Don't have a stupid reference to a girlfriend that died that was probably going to be Lena Headey, and then you cut her scenes, and then she was suing for millions of dollars because you cut her scenes. It's like, what are you doing? Why is everything behind the scenes of this film sound so insane? Like, everybody was told something different. It sounds like Tessa Thompson and Natalie Portman and Christian Bale and Taika were all told different things that were executed differently. And it just sounds like the biggest mess that the studio's made in a long time. And look, you can like this movie more than you could like Shang-Chi or Eternals, but just the drama behind the scenes, and not even drama, just the way people are talking about, like people in the movie are talking about Thor: Love and Thunder, it really makes you think, what were they doing? What were they told? It's insane to me. Yeah, it's just insane, man. The script was simply underworked. Yeah, it was. The script did nothing. It's a really bad script when you have to put in a joke every 2 seconds. And I don't care if Thor is a comedy. That's obviously a target audience that it's not me. So do it. If you want to do it, that's fine. But at least make it funny and not like a subpar comedy where all the jokes are stale and boring. Don't do the easy way out. Like, it's 2022. No character should say he never skipped leg day. That's not funny. That's stupid. There was a couple of jokes, I think, that made me laugh. I'm trying to think. I did like the scene at the end where it's his daughter and she shoots the pan and he's like, great, that's a new pan, you just broke it. That's at least a joke. That's a Taika Waititi joke. Like, that sounds like something he would come up with on the spot that you would find in a What We Do in the Shadows type of situation. But the screaming goats, so annoying. Every inference to Korg, so annoying. I will say though, I kind of liked what Russell Crowe was doing. That at least is a guy, probably the best actor in this movie, honestly. I'm a huge fan of Russell Crowe. The guy knows how to commit to a bit like no one's business, and the fact that 20 years ago he could have been Thor shows you that he is willing to commit to things too. I like that. So he's here in Zeus doing a Russian, Greek, whatever the hell accent. I like that he's committing to it. He feels like he's having the most fun. He feels like he's like, oh no, yeah, okay. I'm the best god in the world. I just want to have an orgy. Look at all these women around me, these beautiful women. and I'm just gonna walk down my little skirt, just flaunt my stuff, and swing by lightning nunchucks around. That's at least a fun joke in a character. But would we want to see more of that? If this is our introduction to Zeus in the MCU, is there anything else you can do with that character? No, not really. I guess it's something, but that whole the whole like omnipotent city. One, it seems like a thing that you would have known about earlier on in these movies and not just brought up now, where it's like, oh yeah, all the gods coalesce somewhere and this is where they talk about their shit. That's a concept you'd have to say right away. And two, they're all the worst gods you've ever seen. They're all just terrible people doing bad stuff. They all deserve to die. And did they kill them when like they actually fight the people on Impotent City? Did they kill some of those gods, or just like the henchmen of the gods? It's so dumb and pointless. It really is. It was really dumb and really pointless. And the Omnipotent City, it was just so... It just felt like this is a scene we have to get in there. So when we introduce Hercules, which we do here, yeah, you can move past it. Oh, my goodness. So much about this film was just so boring. You know, that's the problem too. And I was like, what are my favorite jokes? The girl burns a frying pan and Russell Crowe swung some nunchucks around. That's it, I guess. And I don't even think one of those is a joke. I just think that's a silly character being told to be silly. But like, let's actually talk about Hercules for a second here, or Heracles, depending on where you're from. Was it good? I'm a huge Brett Goldstein fan. Like I've done reviews for Ted Lasso. I've honestly said he should be Wolverine. I think he'd be a great choice for Wolverine. But him as Hercules, I wasn't expecting that. And it was interesting. I genuinely liked that. I think like, okay, that is a good choice. It's a choice nobody was thinking about. It's better than Cavill, because I don't want Cavill in the MCU, but if you're going to put him in the MCU, you have to do him as Hyperion, because it's a play on Superman. It would be so funny if like the reference to the Squadron Supreme was the actors that played the Justice League in the movie, except for Ezra Miller. That'd be funny. So Brett Goldstein as Hercules, like, okay, that could be fun. You could do stuff with that. Could he hold his own? I don't know if he could hold his own yet in a thing. And I don't know if it's actually like built to go anywhere, as opposed to like, now we know the gods exist. Here's another god we could play with that you are a fan of, I guess. And this is another thing. There are fans of Thor. Like, Thor is an ongoing comic book forever. I understand that. But Hercules, you can't see it, but he is behind me on the Avengers shelf. Hercules is just an Avengers-tied character. He's never really broken out into his own. He had like one mini for a bit, but he's not a character that is actively building a universe. So teasing him doesn't get anybody excited except for Avengers fans. And you're not announcing an Avengers movie soon, so what is the point of this? I don't want to see the revenge story, because you know how it's going to go with Hercules. If it's like 4th dive, Hercules is coming after him, realizes this is actually kind of cool. I like Earth and stuff. That's boring. We know that. That was the Thor story. And this is something I've also said too. The way you have been treating Thor in Love and Thunder and Ragnarok is how Hercules should be written. Because the character is a himbo. He's a silly little boy. He's just boisterous and crazy and doesn't take anything seriously. And this is the other thing too, okay? Remember when I talked about the Tessa Thompson stuff and the Korg stuff, okay? When I said they referenced the word dads and girlfriend. When I said that, now here's the thing about Hercules. In the comic books, Hercules is depicted as bisexual. What are the chances that the MCU is just like, nope, he's just like his daddy kissing beautiful girls? Maybe does the Loki thing where it's like, I like girls and boys, doop-de-doop, but never do we actually see any of these characters having a same-sex kiss. And I was like, that's the thing with Loki too. You say he's bisexual or gender fluid or whatever you want to say, and then he just kisses the only version of himself that's a girl. Are you kidding me? So you're not falling for the one that looks exactly like you or any of the other ones. It's the one that's the girl because she has different body parts. Okay. Don't do that for Hercules, man. This guy's going to be a player for everybody. I want to see him kiss some dudes. I want to see the MCU take some chances with this stuff because it's so stale. We get it. You are slowly forcing the idea of love back into these stories. We had a sex scene in Eternals, okay? I guess there was a love story in No Way Home. You are slowly bringing the idea of love back into these things. But with Doctor Strange, nah, he can't be with Christine. Let's see some love. It's called Love and Thunder. We get one big kiss. Tessa Thompson kisses one person's hand, one shot of a naked butt, and I don't know, something about that. Like, it does Chris Hemsworth look good? Yeah. Did Brett Goldstein look better because that looked like a real dude? Yeah, I'd say so. The thing is, like, Chris Hemsworth was so ripped in that scene that it almost didn't look real. It almost just looked too perfect, too chiseled. But I could completely buy the Greek gods just looking like average dudes with hair on their chest and just a standard muscle build. I believe that more than everybody looking like Chris Hemsworth. So, cool, that's fun. Why are we going down this rabbit hole? Were Jane's arms CG? That's what we should ask the question. Probably not. They did film it a year ago. Modern Natalie Portman doesn't have CG arms, so, or she doesn't have the muscles still, I should say. So, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Everyone's exaggerating this film because they have such terrible VFX. You can just do whatever you want with them. It is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, man. How weird was that kid, Axel? You know, Heimdall's kid. You know, we didn't see him hook up with a lady before. Now he's got a kid that looks like they've been around the block or two. So that kid had to be born before Infinity War, which took place over 5 years ago. So yeah, I guess the timeline checks out, but why we haven't seen him, I don't know. And here's another thing. I need to bring this up because I talked about when I did my Thor trilogy video. For some reason, I can't explain it. The MCU always makes jokes about their previous movies. It started in Far From Home when they made like the stupid, silly PowerPoint presentation about Endgame with the terrible music, and everyone's like, look at this terribly cropped photo of the superheroes in a rest in peace symbol. Doctor Strange, I guess, kind of did it and stuff, but in this movie, it opens up with like Korg talking about like, let me tell you the story of Thor, the god of whatever, and this is all the people he lost. He lost his mom and his dad, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. You couldn't take the 10 minutes to remember Volstagg, Fandral, and Hogan? Was that so hard? Do you expect the audience not to remember? Why did you have to do that? Why did you have to do an entire, 5-minute sequence with Luke Hemsworth and Matt Damon making fun of your already satirical Ragnarok movie? Is the joke that Melissa McCarthy is, overweight and it's funny to see her? Or is it just that the joke that's like, oh, it's Melissa McCarthy? Is it a joke or just a thing happening making fun of the other thing that's happening? It's so frustrating. And it ultimately means nothing. And that really pisses me off. Why do you have to hate your previous movies so much? Why do you have to take the time to do that? It is so frustrating, so annoying, really pisses me off. Just support it. Just say the Warrior. Just say the Warriors 3. Don't say whoever that guy is. We know who he is. He was a lead character in the first Thor movie. And you unceremoniously killed all of them off in Ragnarok. Did they use the footage of Zachary Levi in that scene? I don't even remember. Are you serious? Are you serious? Just take the time to care a little bit more. Quit making fun of other stuff. It's so annoying. How are we supposed to take your current project seriously if you can't even take your previous one seriously? That's annoying. That's dumb. You shouldn't do that. Couple of things I do want to talk about before we start wrapping it up here. Comic-Con's coming up. We'll hear a bunch of big news. I don't think we'll hear anything about this film or anybody involved in the cast. Maybe Brett Goldstein, maybe Tessa Thompson. You're not going to see Portman or Hemsworth or Bale or Taika anywhere near that stage or anywhere near that thing. If I'm wrong, I will eat a bowl of soup on screen here for you guys for some reason. I don't know why I went to that one. The ending is stupid where it's just him hanging out with his daughter. We get it, Chris. You have a daughter. You're a big family man now. You still want to make these millions of dollars doing these movies, so if you can bring your daughter into it, get another paycheck for you. Good job, guys. You and Taika, you're thinking alike. Okay. Of all the movies in recent times where I expected to see Eternity, the actual Eternity from Marvel Comics, I didn't think it was going to be Love and Thunder. Why would it be Love and Thunder? Why is it when you find Eternity, You can ask it for a wish, but only one wish. Only the first person to find eternity gets the wish. What does that even mean? I will say, eternity looked freaking sweet. Like, they nailed it. Just a big body with the galaxy inside of it. That's cool. That's eternity. You nailed it, sweetie. If you got one thing right, it's eternity. Just being a silent, mindless being that does nothing and grants a wish for you. And why you could only wish for the daughter to come back, I don't know. You couldn't be like, I wish for the gods to... Just so many other things you could have wished for. And it's weird that, like, that, I don't know. There's so much about that scene that's just so forced to get to the ending. It is just constructing a story backwards from the end point. Love and Thunder. It's Chris Hemsworth and his daughter. How do we get there? Here's the rest of the story to get to that ending. That's it. That's stupid. That's not how you should write a story. And look, I'm not an expert screenwriter. I dabble a little bit in, just like storytelling myself. But I will say this. Your ideas are going to change over time. You don't have to force them into a certain narrative. Let it flow, let it adapt, and create something different. If that's the ending you want, you should have spent more time getting there as opposed to, we can wish her alive. Cool. It's so annoying. So annoying. The action looked bland. I have nothing to say about the action. I can't remember a scene for the life of me what happened in that movie. Cool, I guess that is something to relish in. And that's pretty much all the thoughts I have on Thor Love and Thunder. Before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about Ms. Marvel, the season finale of Ms. Marvel. It ended on some cool notes. Spoiler alert if you have not seen Ms. Marvel. The final episode of Ms. Marvel, in the way Thor has introduced us to the world of the gods in this grandiose film, Ms. Marvel has set the door open for a certain type of hero. I'm not going to get too into it. I'm just going to say this. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. There might be a mutation involved. Ms. Marvel's origin could be a little bit different now. It's a good finale. Wraps up pretty quick. I do think it's kind of unfortunate that the finale has a bunch of armed militant soldiers chasing kids down in a school with firearms. I do think that is some really poor timing. I understand how the school's an important part in the comics and the story, but I really don't think we should see a government like figurehead chasing kids in a school with guns. It's not something we should put in our stories, but it's still a good finale. It looked clean, had the best overarching episodic adventure of anything in the MCU and Disney Plus so far. It's probably my favorite show. And that's saying not a lot because most of them have been shit. It does the Falcon and the Winter Soldier community thing better than Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it's a great finale. It was really cool. And I'll be back talking She-Hulk when She-Hulk comes out. I think that's going to be the next show we do weekly reviews for. And that's the next MCU thing we got coming out, except for I Am Groot. But we'll talk about I Am Groot on here when we get to it. Thor Love and Thunder. Here are my final thoughts. If you are a completist, you should see it because you're going to watch it anyways. If you're not a completist, you're like, should I go check this out? Wait for streaming, because that's where it's going to do better anyways. And don't watch it. Cameron and I were talking about other Chris Hemsworth movies earlier. Go watch Rush, because Rush is a really good movie. It's actually really fun, really creative, and kind of cool to see. And I guess anything else of Chris Hemsworth, man. Oh, I love a good movie where actors can bring their kids on set to do big roles and they don't have to pay them, and you can just get another paycheck if you do because it's your kid and that money comes to you anyways. I love it. I love it. Congratulations, Taika Waititi. Somehow your goofballish brand of humor has made me hate you a little bit. Just a little bit. Look, season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows just dropped. I don't see your name on it that much anymore. It's freaking hilarious. And I'm pretty sure that's not because of you. I'm sorry. Am I excited for the future of this? Not really. I'll see what Brett Goldstein does, but I don't really care. I'm kind of over the Marvel stuff. And if you want to hear my thoughts on where I think the MCU bubble is going to burst, you can check out the Geek Wave episode I did yesterday where I give you a breakdown probably this long in length where I think the MCU is going, how I think it has been sustaining so far, how Phase 4 is going, and when I think the bubble is going to burst. Spoiler alert, soon. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Geek Beach. Now, thank you to everybody who came out. We had some really good numbers here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see my Miss Marvel finale review, it's uploaded now. You can check it out there. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.